What's up, guys? I'm BTC. Over on the PTR, Echo has received her first several nerfs. This didn't take too long. It's been, what, 3-4 days since the character was announced and put on the PTR, so they're moving pretty fast on those nerfs. Also, Tracer got a pretty substantial buff to her vertical mobility in the form of some changes to her movement abilities. We'll talk about that in just a second. Gonna start with Echo, though. Her first nerf has to do with the ultimate. Previously, you could use the ultimate duplicate on any enemy at any time, and there was really nothing that they could do to stop it. You could also use it from really far away, but what they've done is they've added some ability to counter it, and this is very similar to what you have with Zenyatta's Discord, where you cannot place the Discord on an enemy who's behind an enemy barrier. Now, Echo cannot use her ultimate on anyone who is behind an enemy barrier as well. So, same functionality. Now, they did list this as a bug fix, but this is still a pretty substantial weakening of that ultimate. Now, that's not to say that it's, garbage all of a sudden, because it's still a very, very strong ultimate, but having the enemy team go from not being able to counter it at all to suddenly now they have methods to block it, that is a pretty substantial change. That is a very big nerf to the just initiating the ability. We probably still need to deal with some of the stuff that happens after you use duplicate, but they'll probably get to that a little bit later. The other nerf has to do with her flight ability, and they made it so that flight speed will now return to regular movement speed if canceled during the initial speed burst. This is very similar to what happens with Doomfist or Moira or Reinhardt when they use their movement abilities, and if you jump at the very end, you carry your momentum forward, and that's because while you're moving through the air, you stay at that same speed until you touch the ground again. But the problem with Echo is that when you use the flight ability to get that big burst of speed, you're in the air. And she also has a glide ability which slows down her rate of fall. So with Echo, you could get that extra big boost of speed, immediately cancel it, and you would have this kind of super flight or super glide, and it would allow you to travel a very large amount of distance in a very short amount of time because you were just moving so incredibly fast. You were moving at the speed of that initial kind of dash and burst speed mechanism of the flight ability. So what they did was they went in and they changed it so that if you try to do that and cancel it, then it just returns you back to normal speed. Now, that tech, the super flight, super glide kind of thing, was useful, and it certainly was effective. You could use it to get back into the fight if you had just gotten eliminated and you respawned. You could get back to the fight faster than anybody else by a pretty good amount. You could also use it as an escape mechanism. That was useful, but listening to some of these other people talk about it, they were massively exaggerating how strong it was. They were acting as if this was like the most powerful thing ever, and it was going to make Echo unkillable, and that it was going to completely break the game. Absolute, utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. It was useful, it was effective, but it wasn't going to just completely shatter the entire game and make Echo unkillable. But regardless, it is now gone anyways, so you can try to use that tech, but what will happen is as soon as you cancel it, you just get the normal flight speed. So now there's really no reason to cancel that flight early and try to do something else. You just have the flight, use it for the whole duration. In almost every situation, you're not going to be able to, or there's not going to be a reason to cancel it. Moving on to Tracer, she got a pretty substantial buff to her vertical mobility that I don't think a lot of people have really noticed. I mean, some people have picked up on it, but most people, this just kind of flew under the radar. What ended up happening is they changed the way that Blink moves, and they said that they improved the accuracy of Tracer's Blink movement such that Tracer will be more likely to end up where the crosshair is pointing. And just reading that, it doesn't really seem like a whole lot. It seems like, okay, I'm looking over here and I blink and that's where I end up, right? Well, yes and no. See, the thing is, there's some extra vertical aspects of this. And it's funny because a couple weeks ago, I made a video in my Respawn series talking about a vertical blink where you could blink almost straight up or just, wherever you looked at. You could blink kind of up in the air or off to an angle or something like that. This isn't remotely that good, but it still allows Tracer to get to a lot of locations that previously she wouldn't be able to get to. If you look at this example right here, you can see that I'm not able to get up on top of that area. I just don't have the jump height to get up there. However, using Blink, it will place me on top of that. And that is because when you use the Blink, it adjusts your position to try to put you on the ground at the closest spot to where your crosshair is or where you're trying to blink to. And what this ultimately results in is that now Tracer can use multiple blinks in order to climb vertical areas that she normally would never be able to get to. And you're gonna see a whole bunch of them in the example video that I'm showing right here. There's some pretty ridiculous ones that you're able to get really, really high up that you normally would never, ever be able to do. And some of them I'm not able to quite do yet, which, for example, there's one in Numbani where you can jump off of the payload and you can actually get up onto that second level. That was really difficult to do. I wasn't quite able to grab it. However, I did get another one in Numbani. Here you can see this one where you blink away from the wall, you turn around, and then you blink towards the wall, and it will put you up on top of that high ground. So this is a way for you to actually go all the way to the left and to climb up onto that high ground without anyone knowing, rather than trying to go up the stairs on the right-hand side and all that stuff. So this opens up a whole bunch of different flanking routes that Tracer now has access to. You can also get to other areas on high ground where characters like Widow or Hanzo would normally be. Normally you would have to use Genji for these sorts of situations, but now Tracer can actually get to a decent number of them. Not all of them, to be sure, but you can still get to quite a few of them. This is gonna open up a lot of options for Tracer, and this is probably gonna be a lot more powerful than people originally thought. So there you go, guys, the first couple nerfs for Echo. What do you guys think about these changes, and what do you think will be nerfed next? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell to get notified. You can get some cool gear, join my Discord server, or follow me on social media with the links down in the description below. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters, and remember, always blame the controller because it's never your fault.